Good morning, my friends. Hello, it's Miss Adrienne from Harris District Library's Northside Branch, and we just want to welcome you. We are also streaming this on Zoom. If you prefer Zoom in the future, or if you want to get that little reminder link, go ahead and go to our events page on our website, and you can register once and then be able to see this same story time throughout the whole summer. So a couple of grown-up announcements. This is a preschool and family story time. We will be moving and we will be a little silly. We have a story in here, and caregivers, if you can play along with us, that gives your little ones permission to have fun, especially since I can't directly interact with them. We're kind of hoping you can fill in there as well. So a couple of announcements. Please watch our social media and our website for more information about the Northside branch opening up. We are hoping to start curbside soon, so keep an eye on that. We've moved to the shops at West Shore so that we can have construction completely underway at the Northside branch location. So watch for news about that. Thank you to those of you who have joined us on our virtual summer events. We had a magician on Monday, Cameron Zavara. Thanks to those of you who made it for that. And next Thursday, actually, instead of this story time, we are going to have some fairy tale animals join us. So please join us for that. Head on over to our website, register for that event so you can get a Zoom invite. So without further ado, I'm going to get started with a hello song. This one's a little different than ones we've done before, but it's good for following directions. So this one, we'll start with hello to my friends, and you can just do a little wave like this. Here we go. Hello to my friends, yes indeed, yes indeed, yes indeed. Hello to my friends, yes indeed, yes indeed. And now we can say hello to other things. So I like to get a little silly with this, if that's all right with you. Something that I could do is I could say hello to my elbows or my toes. Let's do elbows. That seems a little silly. So get your elbows ready. We're gonna say hello to our elbows this morning. Hello to my elbows, yes indeed, yes indeed, yes indeed. Hello to my elbows, yes indeed, yes indeed. Very good. Yes. So now that we've gotten a little bit of movement in, some sillies out, we're gonna sing another song that is going to require you to go on a little mission before we sing it. We're gonna sing a song that goes to the tune of the Wheels on the Bus, but you're gonna need to have some things to wave. Two things, 1, 2. It could be tissues, Kleenex. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use my doggy socks. They look like my doggy. So I'm gonna wave around my doggy socks. I'm gonna count to 10 using these special little dominoes. I like using dominoes because we can count the actual dots on them. So when I get to 10, you should be back with 2 things you'll be able to wave around for our song. Ready? On your mark, get set, go. 1, go find something. 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5 dots. Halfway. 6, 7. Do you have 2 things yet? 8. Almost there. 9. One more is 10. Look at that. 5 and 5 is 10. All right, wave around what you found. I've got my doggy socks. So now we're gonna sing a song about something you may have already done this summer. It's about going to the lake. Have you been to a lake this summer? Yeah. So this song, again, it goes to the tune of the Wheels on the Bus, but we're gonna sing about the fish in the lake, and we'll use this as an excuse to cross that imaginary midline and wake up our brains this morning. So our fish in the lake are gonna go swish, swish, swish. Here we go. The fish in the lake go swish, 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 swish. Swish, 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 the fish in the lake go swish, swish, swish all day long. That might be a little different for you. Instead of all through the town, we're saying all day long. So now let's have people in the lake. We can get so creative with this. So many things in the lake. How about the people in the lake go splash, splash, splash. Are you ready to pretend splash? Here we go. The people in the lake go splash, 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 splash. The people in the lake go splash, splash, splash all day long. You could continue that song whenever you go to a lake, or even when you're not at a lake. You could do the waves in the lake, go up and down. You could do the boats in the lake, go round and round, or go fast, fast, fast. Depends on what kind of lake you're at, huh? So now we're gonna get ready for our story. You can toss those 2 things you were waving around off to the side, and I'm gonna need your help. This story is about a very big vegetable. This story has some big language in it, but that's good for our little ears to hear that big language. We call that vocabulary. And throughout this story, there will also be a lot of repetition. So you can follow along with me. Some things you will need to know. There is a person in the story named Ted. Ted shook his head. Can you shake your head? Ted shook his head. Yes. And then we will have Sam. Sam brushed off her hands. And Grace wiped off her face. Grace wiped off her face. There we go. So you'll hear those throughout the story. Join in and you can help me tell this story. Now, this is about an enormous vegetable. Now this vegetable, it grew overnight. So one morning, Ted woke up, he stretched. And he was going to get ready to go out into his garden. He was a gardener and he had lots and lots of vegetables in his garden. So he put on his gardening gloves, just like a good gardener. You always wear some good gardening gloves. And he opened his door and he was shocked. Do you know what he saw? It was not there yesterday. In the middle of his garden was something so enormous. It had big green leafy stalks, and at the bottom it was buried in the ground. It was orange. What do you think it was? It was an enormous carrot. What? Now, Ted knew that when vegetables get really big, it's time to pick them. So, Ted shook his head, grabbed on to the enormous carrot, and on the count of 3, he pulled as hard as he could. You ready? 1, 2, 3, pull! But that vegetable wouldn't budge at all. Now, Sam was walking down the street. Hi, Ted. You look like you need some help. So, Sam brushed off her hands, grabbed hold of Ted. Ted shook his head and grabbed hold of the enormous carrot. And on the count of 3, they pulled as hard as they could. 1, 2, 3, pull! But guess what? That vegetable wouldn't budge at all. So, Grace, this is a new character. Grace is Ted's neighbor. Grace just happened to be watching out the window and wondering what was going on. And so she opened the window and said, "Hey, I think I can help you. I am big and strong. I'll be right there." So Grace came downstairs, went outside, and Grace, ready? What did Grace do? Grace wiped off her face and grabbed onto Sam. Sam brushed off her hands and grabbed hold of Ted. Ted shook his head and grabbed hold of the enormous carrot. And all together, on the count of 3, they all pulled as hard as they could. Ready? 1, 2, 3, pull! But that vegetable still wouldn't budge at all. And so they were about to give up. All 3 of them combined. They were so strong, but that enormous carrot was just too big. But along came a teeny tiny little caterpillar. And that caterpillar wriggled its way up to the carrot. And it looked at the carrot. And it looked at Ted and Sam and Grace. And then the caterpillar said, "Oh my, what a big carrot that is. Would you like some help?" Ted shook his head. I can't believe there's a talking caterpillar. Now, Sam brushed off her hands. "Well, Ted, it's not the weirdest thing that's happened today. You just had an enormous carrot grow overnight." And Grace wiped off her face and said, "Well, little caterpillar, you're a little too small to help. You had better move along because we don't want to step on you and squish you." But that little caterpillar insisted on helping. Do you think a teeny tiny little caterpillar would make a difference? And so the teeny tiny little caterpillar wriggled and giggled and grabbed on to Grace and grabbed onto Grace and grabbed onto Grace, because caterpillars have a lot of little hands. And Grace wiped off her face, and Sam brushed off her hands, and Ted shook his head and grabbed on to the enormous carrot. And all of them together, on the count of 3, pulled as hard as they could. 1, 2, 3. And the teeny tiny little caterpillar took one teeny tiny step back. And Grace took a teeny tiny step back. And Sam took a step back. And Ted took a big step back, and pop! Out came the carrot. Ted shook his head. Sam brushed off her hands, Grace wiped off her face, and the teeny tiny little caterpillar wriggled and giggled. Oh, they did it. Now, Ted was so happy that his friends had helped. So Ted said, well, my friends, thank you for helping me. I want you all to come back later today and have some big slurpy bowls of carrot soup. And so Grace went home and washed her hands, and Sam went home and washed her hands, and the teeny tiny little caterpillar went home and washed his hands and his hands and his hands, because he has a lot of hands. And when they all came back, they enjoyed big slurpy bowls of soup, except for that caterpillar, because caterpillars don't eat soup, do they? Do you know what they eat? They eat leaves. And so that huge stalk attached to the carrot, that lucky little caterpillar got it all to himself. Now remember, that's a fun little story, but it reminds us that even though we might be little or we feel like we're only able to help a little bit, every tiny bit of help you can provide counts, and it makes a difference. So be helpers out there. Now I have another little song I want to share with you. You might know your days of the week, and caregivers, apologies in advance for getting this song stuck in your head for the rest of the year. This goes to the tune of the Addams Family song, if you're familiar. And the days of the week, I'm going to teach you just 2 of the sign language signs, and I'll do the rest of them throughout the song. But you'll need to know Sunday. This is Sunday. So it's just like Sunday. And then Monday, you do the letter M. This is the letter M in sign language. It looks like a little M with your 3 fingers. Turn it towards you and then circle it in front of you. I will do the rest of the motions, but you can just continue to circle your hand in front of you as we go. So this is how the tune goes. If you can't snap, you can clap or tap. So here we go. Days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week. There's Sunday and there's Monday, there's Tuesday and there's Wednesday, there's Thursday and there's Friday, and then there's Saturday. Days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week. Yes. Now we'll do that just one more time, and then we're gonna have to start thinking about wrapping up today. This is going so fast. So days of the week, let's do that one more time through. Remember Sunday and then Monday. We'll see if I can do it right this time. Days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week. There's Sunday and there's Monday, there's Tuesday and there's Wednesday, there's Thursday and there's Friday, and then there's Saturday. Days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week, days of the week. Yes, so good. Now, my friends, we are just about out of time, so that means that we have to sing our little goodbye song. And our goodbye song that we do here at the library, we like to say goodbye to our friends. This is the sign for friends. Yes, goodbye, friends. And then it's time, we pointed our little watch, or our wrist if you're not wearing a watch, time to say goodbye. Are you ready? All right, here we go. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. Thank you for saying hello to us today. I've seen some of your chats. Thank you so much for joining us. It's fun to see some familiar names on there. So please come back. Just a reminder again, next week will be that special event. Instead of story time, we have some fairy tale animals that will be joining us virtually. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.